This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast, Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern. I am Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. The New York Yankees have released their list of spring training non-roster invitees. Spring training on the horizon. Pitchers and catchers. Next week, Alex Bregman, unsigned. Pete Alonso, now signed on the same team he was on last year. Boring. We'll give you some names to look out for, though, as spring training gets underway. Some of the top prospects that you're used to will be in attendance, as well as a few names you're probably going to fall in love with in a couple weeks' time. And then those names will be demoted to Somerset, and they won't be on the big league roster. Anyway, someone who will be on the big league roster, Tim Hill, back. How many podcasts in a row did we do saying this is the easiest move of the offseason? Why is it not done? Well, now it's done. The Yankees have also added a former top 100 prospect from 2023, not from that long ago, and a 2019 first-round pick. Will either one of them still be on the Yankees 40-man roster by the time we do a podcast next Monday? I honestly don't know. Plus, why the Yankees probably won't trade for Nico Hoerner, despite the Cubs getting closer in the Alex Bregman chase. And I'm mad about Juan Soto's Instagram activity for some reason. Thanks for joining us, 2 o'clock Eastern, every Monday, every Thursday, and on all podcast platforms. I'm Adam Weinrib, joined, as always, by Thomas Carannante. Thomas, the spring training hats are out. The weather is not changing one iota in the north, but if you can get out of here, it's pretty nice down in Florida, I've heard. And now is the time to start moving, because the Yankees and their weird pinstriped hats with wicking material and fresh patches on the side will be taking the field soon enough. Aaron Boone tweeted out Tampa with a plane emoji today. So unless he's been traded to the Rays, he's headed down there.
Are these hats any good?
I don't think they're good. The gray ones aren't bad, but the gray ones also are replicated for every team. Like every team has a gray one this year for some reason. And the Yankees one looks kind of cool in gray, but the Yankees primary is pinstriped. It just looks very fashion. Like, you know, when you see like a fancy hat, kind of like I don't know, just a hat that you couldn't really see yourself actually wearing. When you're in the lids and you're like, they definitely designed this. Like they certainly took their time making it, you know, putting elements together, but I don't think I would wear this. That's kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never buy spring training gear. That's kind of where I draw the line. Just because spring training to me is very underwhelming. I know that there's the element of, oh, baseball's back, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, for what the Yankees do for spring training, it's just like, whatever, man. The big names don't play. They get these young guys with some run, and then it kind of never really turns into anything. So I get excited by just watching baseball highlights during spring training. I'm not religiously watching Yankees games because we know how they treat their younger players. And maybe I should change my perspective this year. Should this be the year? I don't know. I'll keep up with everything. I'll do what I can, but I'm not going to be living and dying by, you know, every Spencer Jones home run, because we know that even if he has an electric spring, he'll be right back down to the minors. You know, we saw this a couple of years ago with Jason Dominguez too. It's just like, you got a guy lighting it up, just give him a shot. And they don't really do it. So it's a little bit upsetting. So that's part of the reason I'm not going to buy any gear. Why would I buy the gear? But yeah, Yankees released their full list of invitees, non-roster invitees. And we got a few people to talk about because it's a solid list. And I think that fans deserve a look at some of these players. And some of them could factor into the picture in 2025, especially bullpen wise, I think, right?
Yeah, at least 2026, but you hope they maybe make some noise later this season. I don't buy the gear unless I go, and even if I go, I probably don't buy the gear just because it's been a while since I've been in spring training, but in 2016, the hats with the patches were like hotcakes. Like they sold out. There were a couple that were nicer than others. I went to Royals camp. People really wanted that one with the official patch. And by the time I got down there in like early March, it was no longer being sold. So like, congrats to the people who got there early. But if I'm not going to buy spring training merch, something I'm definitely not going to do is get there the day camp opens so I can get my hat with a patch. If you have enough that you can continue to sell those to me all spring long, then I'll consider it. But if I have to get there on February 14th, and if I don't, then I'm out, then no, I'm not going to purchase your new hat. But Yeah, I watched last year. I'm excited to watch spring training a little bit differently this year because I watched last year in a state of agitation. Having Juan Soto was great. Recommend it. It's a good player to have on your team. But knowing that it was just one guaranteed year, it was like, all right, we absolutely cannot afford a single slip up. Knees crashing into fences, no wrenched ankles, no season-ending injuries. Obviously not for Soto, who gave us like 12 scares in his first game. He fouled the ball off himself. He fell over coming out of the box. He dove in right field for some reason and rolled on his wrist. Obviously, an Aaron Judge season-ending injury, it's disastrous, but it was all especially disastrous last year in the 1 year of Juan Soto. So if it looked like you were going to lose Soto, it was like, well, the year's already over and his Yankee career, I guess, is over. And if you lost someone like Judge, someone integral like Judge or Cole, they did end up losing Cole. It felt like the end of the world because it was like, well, we're not getting this guy back. I was excited for this one season, and now the season's over. So obviously, season-ending injuries, you don't want them, but I'm going to be watching a little bit less nervously and anxiously this preseason because I think, this is a weird Yankees bridge year. They could be great. They could be. They could be the best team in the American League. The American League is sat out free agency, but they could also have a bunch of things go wrong and not be very good and have a bunch of reset buttons to hit next year. You could lose Bellinger if he's awesome. He could opt out. Goldschmidt's a 1-year deal. They don't have a third baseman. Like, they're setting themselves up for next year's offseason, and that's great. I think they did a good job of doing that. But, yeah, if things go off the rails a little bit this year, I'm not going to be we'll never get 2025 back. I'm just kind of, excited to see what happens and how it unfolds. And quite frankly, prefer the Knicks at this moment in time. But Yanks, couple of names that are getting invited to spring training off the non-roster, the 40-man roster adjacent folks. The big names. Ended up being 26 additional NRIs, I believe. Full list came out yesterday. Spencer Jones is going to be there. Roderick Arias is going to be there. George Lombard Jr. should be fun, and he'll probably get more reps this year because last year he was coming off a partial season, made it through a full season of full season ball last year in the minors. So hopefully he's treated like a normal guy who takes over in the 5th or 6th inning and plays half of most games. That'd be nice. So you'll see the big top prospects. How about Eric Reyzelman? I'm going to pinpoint him, and I think a lot of people will too. He's a 2022 5th rounder out of LSU. 23 years old, turns 24 in June. 63 strikeouts in 38 2/3 innings last year, mostly at Somerset, about 23 of those at the AA level. Nasty slider, cutting fastball. He could be a bullpen option. I'm not going to say this year, but I'm saying as soon as next year. Again, look, how much of a chance is he really going to get? Is he going to get a chance to make the roster? I don't think so, but it's a name you heard a lot more often in 2024 and then maybe didn't realize exactly how ridiculous the ratio of Ks to innings pitched was last year until the season ended. And now the Yankees are giving him a chance to strut his stuff with the big club. Cam Schlittler, too, I got to mention, a 24-year-old starter out of Northeastern. He was Hudson Valley's ace last year with 108 Ks and 86 2/3 innings. He struggled a little bit when he got to AA, but he still whiffed 43 in 32 1/3 innings there. So from basically out of nowhere, completely off the radar to Baseball America's top 15 that they just released. I think most of the Yankees pitching prospects you can get excited about and dream on are the guys they drafted last year. Ben Hess and Bryce Cunningham are already in their top 5, according to BA. I think they might be maybe not quite that high, but they're pretty high and pretty good pedigree. They're not on this non-roster invitee list. So your best hope is get introduced to Schlittler, see what he uncovered last year, and Chase Hampton, who is purportedly healthy, is also – he says he's ready to go. It was January 31st. The Athletic did a Hampton profile. Then Keith Law said he had Tommy John in his top 20 Yankees prospect list, and everybody's like, the fuck are you talking about? And then Keith Law edited that and just said he had a flexor strain last year and should be fully healthy, but also included, he ended his paragraph when he said he had Tommy John with this ominous nugget that was like, hopefully he still looks like a shutdown starter when he returns. And he left that in there, even though he quite literally is already back. So I don't know what you're getting from Chase Hampton, but he's a familiar name. He'll be there. He's claiming he's healthy. Reyzelman and Schlittler are a couple who you may be less familiar with, who I think we're going to get to see take some reps. But is there anybody that you're excited to see? I know you're obviously not much of a spring training carer, but and these games obviously don't get truly interesting until they turn over to the 5th or 6th inning, or they get really dull because then it's like a guy from the minor league camp, not on the 40-man, not on the radar, just coming in with a 3-run lead, blowing it instantaneously. And then you're like, why did I pretend to care about spring training results? Never care about spring training results.
Just throwing a milkshake across the room because someone's a rookie or a double-A guy blew a lead in the 7th.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Albert Abreu, because of course it was a couple of years ago. Like blew a 6-2 or 7-2 lead in the 9th to a bunch of Twins top prospects.
I remember that.
And I was like, why am I actually really mad? Like,
Yeah.
I actually am mad. Why? I don't want to be.
Yeah.
This is not a sporting event.
Because you knew he was probably going to factor into some part of their plans. And you're like, this guy? Really?
And just
split squad action?
Bomb squad,
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, great. Yeah, no, I didn't want to win that anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, for spring training, I'm a simple guy. There's two reasons. One, Yankees prospects don't excite me. I'm sorry to everybody out there who loves the draft and loves the international free agency and loves to follow the farm. I mean, I'm not against following the farm. It's just that we see a lot of Yankees prospects just top out and they either get to AA or to AAA, and that's where kind of their potential ends. And then it's either, the Yankees didn't draft the proper talent or they don't have the proper developmental personnel to get these guys to the next level. So there's already enough heartache. The Yankees have 41 pennants, 27 world championships. How much can you be complaining? It's like, yeah, I mean, you've seen the stats though. Like the Yankees' biggest developmental successes over the last 25, ever since the core four came up are Aaron Judge, Brett Gardner, and Anthony Volpe. And that's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, I know you have Aaron Judge. It's a 2-time MVP. Like, you got to give the Yankees credit for that. But Gardner and Volpe are the next 2 highest WAR producers. Like, that's insane. I'm not asking for, 3 more Aaron Judges, but can we get some sort of sustainability here? Nonetheless, in terms of who I'm excited to watch, I like to watch for 2 things. I like to watch for guys who could potentially help us right now.
I like to watch for guys. Everybody loves to watch for guys.
Love watching the dudes. And then secondly are the group of younger players who are going to be there, who are not getting seriously looked at, but can be trade fodder at some point. So you have, for example, George Lombard Jr., and you have Roderick Arias, both of whom are middle infielders, primarily shortstops. So that intrigues me for one of the reasons, trade fodder. So if they have a good spring, does that give the Yankees a little bit more flexibility to get an impact player at the trade deadline? Because, they're not moving off Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe's the crown prince, so we're dealing with that. And it is what it is. Like, again, Volpe's a very good baseball player. It's just we don't know if he's going to be above average offense, and that factors a lot into the equation. It is a shame that you look at Volpe's defense and you're like, oh, he's a defense first player. Like, whatever. Shortstop defense is valuable. It's very important. Having a really good defensive shortstop is awesome, but there's when you're the top prospect in the organization, when you're top 3 in MLB, there just leaves more to be desired. So it's an expectation shift there for Yankees fans. So I'm excited to watch Arias and Lombard to see what they can do. Arias was the number 1 international signing back in 2022. Wrist injury last year, I believe, missed some time. He was on fire.
He was legit good down the stretch last year, which people forget because the Yankees farm sucks, I guess. That's just what people are saying now. I would disagree with that assertion. It's not fantastic. It's not fantastic. It's in the bottom third of the league for sure at this point. But ESPN was, I think, laid it out correctly. They had the Yankees 21st in the league in terms of farm. And it's like, there were like, it couldn't have gone worse last year in every way. Jason Dominguez didn't participate. Spencer Jones was serviceable, but got shit on because he didn't fix his number 1 issue. And also serviceable doesn't make headlines in the minors. Arias struggled early. Lombard struggled early. Hampton didn't participate. Will Warren had a 6 ERA. There wasn't a single person you could point to who was healthy and good, really, from the frontline names. And they graduated Volpe and Wells and Heel. But Wells and Heel were top 3 for Rookie of the Year, and one of them won it. So that's not bad. All it takes is a couple of reasonable bounce backs, or like Hess and Cunningham do their thing. You don't have to hit on everybody, but you can't hit on nobody, and that's what happened last year. But Arias in his last 47 games, And this is as like a teenager, 20-year-old at A-ball, hit 276.
19-year-old at A-ball.
276, 390, 471 with a 146 WRC plus. He's way better from one side of the plate than the other. So just keep that in mind. Like if we're thinking about how fun it is that he's a switch hitter, like, that's great. But, we've got a ballpark in the Bronx where lefty hitters can maybe get under one and not hit quite so well. And Arias as a lefty against righties had a 776 OPS and a 544 mark as against left-handed pitching. So maybe he's just a lefty now, and maybe plays to the home ballpark that he will eventually have someday. But if people were discouraged by Arias last year, sure. I mean, he didn't pop or explode.
A lot of strikeouts.
A lot of Ks. Everybody apparently does that now. Yeah. But down the stretch, strong performance.
Yeah, and I mean, drives and runs, 74 RBI, steals bases, 37 stolen bases. That's across 124 games. Like, that's good for your first full season. And someone who's a 19-year-old playing amongst guys who are a year or two older than you. I'll take that all day. So I'd like to see what else he could do. Obviously, George Lombard, first-round pick, a lot of hype. So you have this surplus of shortstops, which is valuable on the trade market. Do I want to see these guys go? Not necessarily. But again, if the Yankees are going to stick with Volpe, and there's either going to be a clogged path or a potential position change, because the Arias played some second base, right? I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he did. He played 32 games at second base, 26 at shortstop. His first partial season in 2022, 26 at shortstop. His second partial season in 2023, 23 games at short. And then last year it was 84 games at short, 32 games at second base. So we'll see what they're going to do there. But obviously you're going to have some sort of a surplus, maybe trade stuff. I don't know. In terms of guys who can help the major league roster, I'm always looking at Chase Hampton, because that was the guy that they left out of the Juan Soto trade. They put Drew Thorpe in that deal instead. And in my opinion, right now it didn't matter, because Drew Thorpe got traded for Dylan Cease. Would have been nice to have that trade piece to do something else, but you had to give to get Soto. And then Drew Thorpe underwent Tommy John in September of last year, so he's going to miss all of 2025. Hampton had his injury issues. We thought he was going to contribute last year. We'll see what the deal. I don't know why there's no transparency with the injury stuff. I mean, I do know why, because this always happens, but it would just be nice to have some sort of intel, because a lot of people follow Hampton. The scouting reports read positively on him. He has consistently ranked high over the last 2 years in the Yankees farm. The Yankees, looking at their bullpen, are going to have some guys that come and go pretty much like they do every year. So you saw what Will Warren did last year, and it was very discouraging. So maybe Hampton, if Warren doesn't rebound, can be the next guy in line to help the Yankees in the bullpen, whether it's for spot starts or whether it's for some multi-inning relief appearances. But yeah, his health situation has been a journey. Would like to see him kind of settle in, get over that, and then prove to us why he was the one that the Yankees held on to in the Soto talks.
Yeah, and what is Clayton Beeter? He's not a non-roster invitee, but he did make the roster out of camp last year with a strong spring, pitched 2 games and maybe even 1 game. I think it was
made the opening day roster, and then he was just gone. It was like,
what? 1 game, and then we were like, well, they're being creative. They need something else leaving Houston. We'll see him again. Then we never saw him again, and then he got hurt, and then he came back at the end of the year in like September garbage time. So he's not a non-roster invitee. But I expect he should take hold of a bullpen spot. I don't know if he will. I don't know what they were doing with him last year, but you never know. And when it comes to injury transparency, like you said with Hampton, I'll never forget last spring when his first injury was broken by MLB Pipeline. By MLB Pipeline doing a write-up of prospects.
It was like buried in there too.
Yeah, it was just
it was like, oh yeah, he's out for 5 months. And we're like, what?
Yeah. We're excited, but unfortunately, he won't be pitching to start the year because he's battling with a shoulder injury. And we're like, excusez-moi. And then the Yankees are like, oh, yeah. Sorry, we forgot. Our top prospect, who we called Mini Garrett Cole, is out for like 3 months. I'd love to watch him next year for sure. I also have a soft spot for Ismael Mungia because I am a weirdo. I was excited to see him on the outfield non-roster invitee list. This is definitely the player that casual fans are most likely to fall in love with and ask us about all spring long. And so we will cover this man when he does stuff. He is 5'7". That is small. He is a 158-pound lefty swinging outfielder who OPS'd 805 last year between AA and AAA with the San Francisco Giants. Now, most of that came from AA, so that's ever great, especially because the Pacific Coast League is for bangers. It's a headbangers ball, so most people hit better when they get there, and he hit worse. But he had an 865 OPS in 43 AA games. Look, is he going to make the Yankees roster? Is he going to make the 40-man roster? Is he going to be an opening day? No, he really shouldn't be. But I have a feeling that we're going to be at some point this spring. We're going to be writing who is Ismael Mungia and how did he get here and what's going on, because one spring training game where he goes 2 for 2 with a bomb and everyone is like, sorry, we have a little guy. Like, is that Tony Kemp? No, Ismael Mungia. So we'll keep an eye on him for sure. A couple other names, also Brendan Davis, who signed, minor league deal coming out of the Cubs system about a month ago. Prodigious power last year when he played, but he played so rarely, and he hasn't played for like the last 3 years that it's very fair to be like, well, that's pointless. But he's coming to spring training as a non-roster invitee. If he can make it through the whole spring healthy, he's going to go to AAA as a real depth option. And hopefully the Yankees needs line up with his availability, because we'd love to see him get a big league shot. Duke Ellis also going to spring training. Remember him? Not on the 40-man anymore, though. So
no,
can't promote him instead of Jason Dominguez. We took up 2 40-man spots yesterday with 2 former top prospects. I can't honestly say that either of these people are going to survive the week. The Yankees have Tim Hill to welcome back, and that's wonderful, but that means they're going to lose someone on the 40-man. It could be Roansy Contreras, who
should be.
Probably will be. He's been lost 100 times by 100 teams already this offseason. But former top 100 prospect, Owen White, is now a Yankee. And that's one where you're like, okay, well, former top 100 prospect. How former, Dallas McPherson was a former top 100 prospect. If the Yankees signed a 43-year-old third baseman, I'd be pissed. He was on the Baseball America pre-2023 list at number 59. He made the 2023 Futures game when he debuted that summer. Jim Callis wrote that he had a polished 4-pitch mix and was one of the more likely and more well-developed starters to hit from the 2018 high school class. And then he just didn't at all. Not even a little bit. He had Alan Winans got DFA'd from the Brave system, who had a 15 ERA in a couple of big league starts last year. And so the Yankees lost him, and they'll never have him. And that is what it is. But Owen White, in 2 starts, 3 games, 3 total innings. So 2 starts as an opener last year, 24 ERA, 8 runs in 3 innings across 3 appearances, 9 hits, no strikeouts. Not like a very low number of strikeouts, 0. And in the minors last year, he had a 5.64 ERA with AAA Round Rock. So the harder they fall, it does not get harder than the fall of Owen White, but we have him for a couple of days max. And it was only a year and a half ago that he was thought of as a highly polished high school arm finding his footing. Also claimed Braden Shoemake, 2019 Braves first rounder, guy who came out of that draft as one of the most polished shortstops, in one of the most polished college players in the country. And then immediately hit like 320 with the Braves and got all the way up to AA in his first draft year, and then lost 2020. Like that season didn't exist, and he just never hit again.
A generation of players completely fucked by that.
Sort of a slap guy. He's made the bigs. He made the bigs for the Braves in 2023 and the White Sox last year. Career 118 hitter at the major league level. Out of A&M, he was kind of the talk of that draft. And then, development stalled, to say the least. The Yankees were looking at shortstops in that draft because they took Anthony Volpe 9 picks later. So alternate universe where Shoemake drops a little bit, but that was never likely because he was highly pedigreed coming out of that draft. Now he's a Yankee. Feels like nothing. Feels like Kevin Smith last year.
Yeah.
And they were just like, here's a guy. Are you excited to see a guy? Here's a man. But yeah, I guess good to talk about him. Moves made yesterday, bunch of mid-afternoon roster shuffles, but I don't know if both of these guys, I don't think make it through camp on the 40-man. And I think Roanzi is first cut, but these guys are easily 2 and 3 next cut.
Yeah. And we're welcoming a couple guys back. Colton Brewer, 2023 Yankees legend. Beginning of that season.
He punched something last year with the Cubs, I think, as well.
Colton Brewer did?
I feel like he did. I feel like he punched a phone.
That's
he punched a wall. He punched a wall and he broke his hand last year.
There we go. Okay, well, we need that ruthless aggression. We got
you can
Squid
do it,
coming
you can
back.
Do it. Just don't break your hand.
Yeah,
you can punch a wall, but just wear Hulk hands.
Boxing glove, or Yankees should have a rubber rubber cooler in the dugout. So it's just bounce back. Squid, Andrew Velasquez is back. Remember him, 2021 wild card game starter at shortstop. Nice kid, but that was insane. And former Red Sox, Pablo Reyes and Dominic Smith. Dominic Smith, former Met, famously top prospect. Yankees signed him a few weeks ago, and we kind of don't know why, because we're wondering if Ben Rice will take the next step. Hey, another guy, TJ Rumfield, pretty good, right? Older, but we're not discriminating against older prospects. If you're good, you're good. TJ Rumfield, what, 25, 24, going into his age 25 season?
Oh, I was going to say 26.
26?
No, I was going to say 26.
Yeah, he might be. Let's see. I think I have it right here. I have a bunch of tabs open. 24.
Good.
He just completed his age 24 season. He'll be 25 in exactly 100 days. He had 114 games at AAA last year, batted .292 with an .826 OPS. That's pretty good. Not saying it's major league material, but another guy who's kind of just been on the outskirts. They signed Dominic Smith, and you're like, what does that mean for Ben Rice? And then you go another layer in the conversation, like, what does that mean for TJ Rumfield? Maybe another trade piece. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the big things for these non-roster invites. Obviously, you have the recent minor league signings with Carlos Carrasco and the guys that you just mentioned, but I think it's standard operating procedure. I think the biggest thing that they have to do with these players is figure out a path for them. I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but it's weird the Yankees never do that. Define a path for some of these guys and have regular depth options. Like, I know Oswald Peraza is here, but like for years it felt like we didn't have a backup shortstop or like a real other shortstop option. Kind of same goes for like everything else. Like, who was the backup second baseman when you decided Gleyber Torres was now in the doghouse? I don't know. We got to figure out some sort of alignment here, so there is not a mystery when somebody goes down, or we're just plugging random guys into spots that don't mesh. I don't know. Either way, good news. How about some good news? Tim Hill is back. And
good news. What the hell is this?
He is so back. 1 year, $2.85 million contract with a 2026 team option for $3 million. Not sure why this took over 3 months, but we're thankful because a lot of lefties were coming off the board. You had Danny Kaloum signed with the Twins. He was in the division the last couple of years with the Orioles. And I mean, he was good for a cost-effective left-hander, and the Yankees had no left-hander. So it's like, how many more of these deals are we going to watch before the Yankees bring back the most obvious option? And then a little bit of like, what is life at this point if we're panicking about losing Tim Hill because the Mets and the Dodgers all of a sudden get involved in the rumors, and you're like, you got to be shitting me. Like, of course these guys are going to come in and like, if he's worth 4, they'll say fuck it and give him 8. They don't care.
I mean, it's definitely one of those where I'm not like, I don't think the Yankees season hinges on Tim Hill specifically. And if they wanted to upgrade on Tim Hill, they wanted to go for Brooks Raley or whatever, it's fine. But if I had gotten the notification that Tim Hill signed with the Dodgers, I would have been like, what the fuck are you doing?
It just would have been so bizarre, especially because, again, they had a guy who they fixed, right? Tim Hill came from the White Sox midseason. He was bad, as bad as it can get. And it looked like one of those, situations where the Yankees were just picking somebody up to burn and churn. All right, eat some innings for us over these next couple weeks, get us through the doldrums, and then you'll be gone, and we'll have somebody coming back from injury by then. But he stuck on. He had a really good, 35 game run or something like that. I think it was like 40 something innings. And it was like, you fix the guy, re-sign him. Now he's familiar. He's feeling good. He pitched really well in the postseason. He gave up 1 earned run in over like 8 1/3 innings. Like, yeah, the answer is that, especially when you don't have a lefty. So we're grateful Tim Hill is back. I think the option for next year, even if he has a decent season this year, is a no-brainer at $3 million. Like, these are the guys you pay. Again, we've talked for a while. Yankees differing looks in the bullpen, right? For so long, it was they just had guys who threw fast. And it was like, okay, that's great. Love hard throwers, love sweepers, love the power, the turbo sinkers, but you need something wacky in there to throw the opposition off, or else what are opposing hitters doing? They're scouting the same version of a slightly different pitcher over and over again. So you're not getting those, you're not getting the change of pace, if you will, out of the bullpen. So Tim Hill, absolutely perfect for that role. Funky delivery, left-hander, induces soft contact. Again, they do need more swing and miss. We've talked about that, but it's okay if you don't have all swing and miss. You need a couple of guys of this profile to help mix the bullpen up a little bit. So we love Tim Hill. We have one other departure just happened today. Lou Trevino gone. Not that he was ever coming back, or at least we had hoped so, but he signed a minor league deal with the San Francisco Giants. This is a closure moment that I didn't realize until I was writing the article today, that the Yankees can officially shut the door on the Frankie Montas trade. Can you believe that? It's felt like 5 years. It's really only been a little over 2. And Trevino, for as good as he was when he came over, he appeared in 25 games. The second half of that 2022 season, 1.66 ERA. He pitched, I think it was 5 1/3 scoreless innings in the playoffs that year against the Guardians and the Astros, but then just dealt with injuries. Had an elbow issue / forearm issue right before spring training of 2023. The Yankees dicked around. He started to throw, as they always do. It's always dicking around. It's not getting the second opinion when you need to. It's maybe not getting the imaging. I don't know if it was in this case, but it's like, yeah, we're not sending him for MRIs. We don't feel it's necessary. It's like, but it's probably necessary. So why don't you just do it? Because you probably have an MRI machine in the fucking clubhouse. So just make it happen. Then Trevino comes back. They said maybe end of April in 2023. He starts resuming throwing, immediately shut down. Then they're like, probably July. Then July comes. He has an extended rehab assignment at AAA. September comes, completely shut down from throwing, and then ends up undergoing, he underwent Tommy John surgery. Didn't pitch 2023 or 2024. The Yankees, in the meantime, paid him $5.6 million. And then this offseason, the icing on the cake here, they are scouting him in a bullpen session. Why? Just why? What more do you need to see? You saw the best out of him. You had him in-house when he was pitching, both bullpen sessions and rehab before and after the injury. And now you're going to look to pay him more money or give him a minor league deal when he didn't let you down. Let's get that straight. Health issues serious, and they absolutely suck. But like, you got to just move on to somebody else. Like, beating the drum. They already did this with Jonathan Loaisiga. I'll complain about this all season until I see Jonathan Loaisiga become a real bullpen contributor at this point. But the guy didn't pitch in 2 years. You're going to consider bringing him back. So I'm happy for him. He's back in the Bay Area. Maybe that's a little bit of a good change of pace for him. Fresh start with the Giants. We'll see what he does. But Frankie Montas trade done. Lou Trevino no longer can be considered by the Yankees. And I think the bullpen picture, with or without him, was fine, right? There was no need for him, even if he was a guy that was going to be shuttled from AAA. So goodbye, Lou Trevino. Goodbye, Frankie Montas trade. Is anybody from the Frankie Montas trade even doing anything remotely?
I mean, it depends on what do you define as doing anything?
Is somebody having a good AA? Did someone have a good AA season last year?
JP Sears, you would take JP Sears on the Yankees roster. He was worth 2.3 WAR last year, but he was mostly just an innings eater, and he struck out 137 guys in 180 and 2/3 innings. So he'd be our 5 starter, but not in this world where we have Marcus Stroman as our 6 starter. So acceptable, it's nice, but not much. Luis Medina, almost non-participatory, 5.18 ERA and 8 starts at the major league level last year. 101 mile an hour fastball. We were told struck out 32 guys in 40 innings. This was such a weird trade. Who
Creepy trade.
Montas.
What's his name?
Who was the infielder?
There was an infielder in this deal?
Yeah.
I thought it was 2 pitchers. There was JP
Sears
and
Waldachuk and Cooper Bowman as well.
Cooper Bowman,
Waldachuk is out for an extended period of time.
We interviewed him on the pod years ago.
Yeah, we liked him. We were there first. We were there, and he was just a kid putting up Eric Reyzelman numbers in the minor leagues, and we believed in him. And he's got swing and miss stuff. He's nasty, but 141 innings last year, 22 starts, and 13 relief appearances. Big old 5 ERA, and I believe he is. Tommy John in May.
Damn.
So he's just hanging out. I don't understand how that. Wait, what's going on here? Ken Waldachuk had that many stats from last year. Those must have been those are 2023 stats.
What?
So he did not.
And he underwent Tommy John surgery last year.
Last May, did not participate in major league action last year.
That sucks.
Did not participate in minor league action last year either.
Yeah. Oh,
so
man.
door closed on our end. Cooper Bowman, what's he up to? Guess what team Cooper Bowman is on now? Not the A's.
I want to say the Diamondbacks.
Inexplicably the Cincinnati Reds.
Okay.
Had a pretty good Double-A tenure at Midland last year with the Rockhounds. Hit 12 homers in 80 games at Double-A. Went up to the hitter-friendly Pacific Coast League. Played in Vegas, where they play in 120-degree dry heat, so people homer there all the time. 38 games, no bombs. So, now he's a Red.
Wow.
Those are the guys.
Cool, guys. Well, we hope you get healthier and find yourself at some point. Speaking of finding yourself, no idea what Alex Bregman's doing, man. I have no idea what anybody's doing. So you have last night, Pete Alonso re-signs with the Mets. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about some major league big time news here. Re-signs with the Mets on a 2-year, $54 million deal, and it's 1 year, $30 million guaranteed. He can opt out after this year, or he can opt in for an additional $24 million. I don't know what scenario he's doing that, unless he gets injured or he bats 105. But that is objectively ridiculous when you consider the fact, A, he fired his agent after reportedly, again, we don't know how true all this is, reportedly rejected a 7-year, $158 million extension from the Mets last offseason, fires his agent, goes to Scott Boras. Scott Boras can't get the job done. Kind of got big boyed by Steve Cohen here. If you're asking my opinion, like fully like elbow off the top rope from Steve Cohen here, like dictating the terms, because I think that if the Mets want to succeed next year, I think Pete Alonso is an essential part of that equation. And I don't think that's crazy to say. He is a Met through and through. He is still one of the best power threats in the entire league. Great. Strikeouts are rising. Bat speed's a little bit off. Average dropping. Sure. Like this is nothing new. Like also people just have bad years and there could have been something else at play that we don't know about. But to remove a 40 homer bat out of the lineup and import Juan Soto and then think that you're just going to be that much better because you imported Juan Soto is not the correct formula. Like they were essentially trading one very good talent for a superior one and then leaving a gap of power that they couldn't afford to do if they were going to compete with the Dodgers in this landscape right now. So Pete returning was absolutely essential, but didn't get anything that he wanted by jumping agencies. Now puts himself in a precarious position because who's going to want to sign him to a long-term deal when he's a year older next year, regardless of how he performs. And then you have Alex Bregman, who is still unsigned. You have the Cubs reportedly involved, along with the Red Sox, Astros, and Tigers. And it came out today that Bregman has no interest in a short-term high AAV deal, which is what the Red Sox and Cubs were apparently looking for with him, and that he wants something in the 6 or 7 range. And to ask the question, isn't that what the Yankees should be interested in? The Yankees love the longer-term deals. They love stretching out the CBT hit for the individual salaries. Like, why would you not structure a deal with Alex Bregman right now? 7 years, let's say 175. That puts it at $25 million a year. That should get it done. Like, right? I don't. If he's looking for 200, I don't think he's getting it. But like, if the Yankees can do 7 for 175, pay him a base of $10 million this year, give him like a $15 million signing bonus, and then gradually have the salary cost more as he ages. You have all these other contracts coming off the books in New York over the next 2 to 3 years. You can maximize this 3 to 4 year window of championship capabilities. And then, come 2029, the only people under contract would be Judge, Bregman, and Fried. Like, they just did this with Max Fried. They gave him an extra year for a couple more bucks to stretch this out, so he was only making $27 million a year. They did this with DJ LeMahieu. Instead of giving him 4 years, they went up to 6, so they could only pay him $15 million a year instead of 20 or 18 or whatever it was. They inherited Giancarlo Stanton's $13 million contract. 13-year, that'd be awesome. 13-year contract, because they knew if they got the Marlins to pay some of it down, again, it would lessen that tax hit. Aaron Hicks, 7-year extension at $10 million per. Like, this is right up the Yankees' alley. This would satisfy everybody. Why is it not being considered? Because I understand the short-term high AAV. If that was at all what Bregman was looking for in terms of a soft landing spot to free agency next year, the Yankees were never going to do that. We know they're not going to do that. But now it's like, jump into the conversation, see what can happen. But why not?
And the whole point of like losing Soto could make the Yankees better in the long run wasn't like, oh, good, now they can stuff their, books with a whole bunch of short-term deals. It was like, oh, now they have the long-term flexibility to maybe spend that Soto money on 3 guys on 8-year deals. So
because Soto was the worst of both worlds. He was long-term and $50 million a year. That's the Yankees' nightmare.
Yeah. And look, I don't think Bregman's going to age spectacularly into his late 30s, but you don't really have to find out, right? You could offer him, we're talking, the Bob Nightingale report was 6 or 7 years is what he's looking for. So, okay, fine. 6. We could do 6. We don't even know who still has 6 on the board. The Astros did recently, but there's reason to believe they don't anymore, because they said, Dana Brown said we lost him the other day, which might cost him in the CBA. He might get fined, but that sounded pretty final. I don't think they have a 6-year, $156 million deal on the books anymore. The Blue Jays, reports claim, have this long offer, but he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. He's not taking that. If it's between the Blue Jays 6-year offer and someone's short-term offer, he's taking the short term. He does not want to go to the Blue Jays for 6 years, 4 years, or 1 year. So the Yankees can do their favorite thing and stretch this out. They could also give Bregman an escape hatch. They could go 6 with a signing bonus and a low contract value for year 1, followed by a large contract value for year 2, followed by an opt-out. They give him an opt-out after year 2, 6 years theoretically, and backload it. They could do that. Now, again, they won't. We know they're not going to. They're not even touching the market right now. It's not going to happen. But there's no reason why it's weird that they're less in now with their favorite tactic potentially at play than earlier in the offseason, when they were also not in. But Jeff Passan was taking them to task the other day saying, I don't understand why they're not in on Bregman. And if he didn't understand at that point, then he really shouldn't understand now. Most people seem to think that the best path for the Yankees to upgrade as a result of the Bregman deal is the Cubs getting him and the Yankees being able to pry Nico Hoerner out, because the Cubs are going to slide Matt Shaw in there. I talked to some Cubs friends about this possibility because a lot of Yankee fans are already fitting Nico Hoerner for the pinstripes. By the way, Nico Hoerner has won a Gold Glove once in his career, but it's not like he's a platinum glover. It's not like he's an elite defender. Nico Hoerner also has a career 101 OPS plus. So just you're getting league average offense there. Can you get league average offense out of Oswaldo Cabrera without trading real assets for Nico Hoerner? There's at least a chance you can. And it's going to cost you for Hoerner Monetarily, he's on an $11.5 million AAV deal for the next 2 years. He signed a weird little 3-year extension, giving him about $11.5 million a season. So he's not free. He's not in pre-arb, and he's not exceptional. He's a great defender. It's a funny contrast to Luis Ariz, who is a terrible defender and would take the Yankees back to the Stone Ages they just escaped when they let go of Gleyber Torres. But a guy can hit. I mean, he's going to give you he's going to hit you 315 to 340. He's going to get you 200 hits a year. He's going to get you OBP, 370 OBP. He's going to get you on base ahead of Aaron Judge. It depends on what your preferences are, but also the Cubs want starting pitching. They want to be in the Dylan Cease market. They want to be in the Michael King market. Maybe Luis Castillo in Seattle. If the Cubs are paying $11.5 million for Hoerner but want to save money, if the Mariners want to save money, they would maybe be willing to say, okay, we'll take Hoerner. We'll give you Luis Castillo. The Mariners would save 50% in that scenario. They would get 11. The issue, of course, is the Cubs would also like to save money. That's why they traded us Bellinger. Everybody wants to save money. No one wants to take on money. So the only chance for the Yankees to get Hoerner is the Padres not surrendering guys like Cease and King, the Mariners and Cubs not being able to come to an accord here, or the Cubs just saying getting rid of money is our stated goal. It was our stated goal when we got rid of Bellinger. It still is now. We have no place for Hoerner. The only chance the Yankees would have here is the Cubs losing leverage, because once you get rid of, once you get Shaw in the mix, and once you sign Bregman, everybody knows Nico Hoerner's not starting for you. So, okay, you can hold out as long as you want, but he's not playing. You don't want him to play. So can he play here instead? There's a world where you can make that happen. But I don't think so. And I don't think they lined up nicely. And I don't want to give away Clark Schmidt or Luis Gil for Nico Hoerner. I don't know if Nico Hoerner is a fantastic player. So don't get caught up in it. Figure out that the Cubs and Yankees aren't really a match here. The Yankees already bailed out the Cubs on a salary once. Bellinger is a better player than Nico Hoerner. I'm not very interested.
And Hoerner would have been in that deal, like you alluded
so.
to. It would have, why you're going to make two separate deals for what reason? Like you're deep in talk. The Bellinger talks dragged on for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If Hoerner was at all involved, or was it of any interest to the Yankees, or was of any interest to the Cubs to get off the books, it would have been a package deal in some capacity. Maybe there would have been a Stroman swap in there, or a 3-team trade of sorts. It didn't come. It didn't happen. So now it's like, unless there's a pivot of proportions that we were not expecting, this ain't happening.
I don't get it. I mean, look, I understand the desperation. Everybody wants an infielder, and Hoerner's got that fun combination of flash and hustle, but there's a little more sizzle than steak there. Not a bad player. But if I'm looking at, I guess in this current landscape, when I'm looking at Paul DeYoung and I'm looking at Brendan Rodgers, Hoerner is a more obvious potential upgrade than those guys. But Oswaldo Cabrera is already here. You're paying DJ LeMahieu regardless.
Oswald Peraza, I don't know. I feel like he's not dead yet.
I mean, if you're power ranking those 3 guys, DJ LeMahieu is a number 3 out of 3 and potentially 4th.
Yeah, I'm not buying that Oswald Peraza is not a fit at all. Look, have the Yankees mistreated him? I would agree. Has he not entirely, combined with the injuries and some of the offensive issues? He's had his stumbles, but don't forget, this was a guy who played shortstop in the playoffs for this team in 2022. And then got disrespected by the organization because he was forced into a spring training battle that, was unfair. On paper, if you succeed with it, he was called up in September of 2022 and he was solid. So if you're proving yourself at the major league level, both offensively, carrying your weight, and you're making defensive plays and you're not a liability, that should be enough to get you in the conversation to start the next year without having somebody else interrupted. But the Yankees, again, anointed Anthony Volpe, and there was nothing that could be done. And they had an infield logjam of a bunch of nonsense. So he didn't really fit in the last 2 seasons. Now there's a clear path. You can't tell me that there's nothing in there. We've seen the power in his bat. We've seen the athleticism. We've seen the defense. So am I all in? No, but I'm also not going to say, like the Yankees have to overextend themselves for someone like Nico Hoerner because they have no options whatsoever. They have options. Is it the best place to be? No. Again, we don't want to be here. We don't want to be talking about 3 underwhelming options to fill infield roles, but this is the position we're in. We have to take our lumps in some capacity. Like, again, there's not going to be all-stars at every position. So Peraza, former top, 3 prospect in the Yankees organization. I think he might have cracked like top 25 overall in larger prospect rankings before he came up. Like, that's a talent. And I know the Yankees might have screwed it up, but he should get one more shake. And if this year's not it, then that's it. But I think if you have enough time to get through the first half with the talent that you have, look, they can also experiment with the versatility they currently have on their roster too, before they have to make any trades or any moves at the deadline. So you don't want to be in the position where you're throwing shit at the wall for the first 2 months of the season, but that's kind of where we're at. And all the other options are not really attractive right now outside of paying for Bregman, which is kind of a polarizing topic. So it is what it is. But again, Oswald Peraza, guy to watch closely at camp. Like, I think Oswaldo Cabrera is the guy to use as a utility option. He's going to play in 125 games. Like, there's going to be need for him all over the place. He's a reliable defender at so many positions. He's a solid lefty bat. So you don't need to bake him into one role. And I think that there's a possibility that Oswald Peraza could be a consistent third baseman if he shows up. So is it preferred? No, but is it possible? Absolutely.
Well, if it doesn't work this year, it's over for him. And
exactly.
His trade value is nil right now. So he definitely deserves a chance. Not going to happen at short. Not going to happen at second. Third base, take it and run with it. Certainly prefer an Oswaldo Cabrera, Oswald Peraza conversation rather than the DJ LeMahieu conversation.
Yeah.
So let's keep having it. Let's maybe see what we got during spring training. Closing on one final note, I am annoyed at Juan Soto. I didn't think I would be again. I thought I would never think of him again until the Subway Series. Then I saw Juan Soto on Luke Weaver's Instagram in his comments. Why am I mad at this? I don't know. Probably need to go talk to my therapist and pay him overtime, because my therapist would be like, are we actually going to talk about Instagram comments between 2 people you don't know? And I'm like, yes, we are. And I will pay you a premium to do it. Luke Weaver posted a workout video. Great. Delightful. He's getting ready for the season. He got some golf gear. He's throwing in Arizona, it would appear. Juan Soto comments on the Instagram, unicorn, with a unicorn emoji. No. You left this. You chose not to be a part of this. It seemed like you were having a great time with your teammates last year during the season. You and Judge were crowning each other. You were celebrating at home plate. Judge let Juan Soto get away this offseason and take some time and think to himself and all of these cute adages. And it was like, wow, should he be selling this team more? No, we saw this team bond in the dugout last year. We saw Jazz Chisholm in the celebration after the ALCS saying, pay Juan Soto $600 million, which would have been a bargain or whatever. You didn't get to the real number. But the whole time I was like, I don't know how the Soto thing's going to turn out, but I know that the Yankees are bonding with him. This is real. I believe in this. They're riding the power of this camaraderie to the World Series. There was a story that came out after the ALCS about Aaron Boone. Every year when some team makes the World Series, there's a dumbass story about like, the manager printed Polaroids and put them on his wall, or the manager's giving every player of the game one jelly bean. And I'm like, this is bullshit. But then there was a story on Boone giving out the championship belt. He says the tightest knit group of guys he'd ever managed. And I was like, wow, I'm all in. It seems like Boone maybe unlocked something. There's finally chemistry here. So I don't know if Soto's coming back, but I don't think Aaron Judge needs to reach out to him and bother him every day. I think he knows where the Yankees stand. I think he loved his time here. But he may go somewhere else. You just don't know. And the whole time, the rumor mill was churning and going crazy. It felt like all December, the start of December, all November, everybody outside the Yankee sphere that I encountered was just like, he's going to be a Met or he's going to be a Dodger, And I was like, I think it's weird that all of you are discounting the Yankees. Like, we understand why, because we know you think Steve Cohen's going to offer the moon. We know you think that's all that matters. But anybody who wasn't here for the whole ride from the outside world and didn't watch the way Soto bonded with those teammates and the way that Yankees clubhouse coalesced and came together. If you weren't here, I get why you wouldn't favor the Yankees, but if you were watching every day, I think you have to, a part of your brain has to think he's coming back to the Yankees until the day it doesn't happen. And then end of the day, he not only goes to the Mets for more money, yeah, but it's not like the Yankees got blown out of the water. Then these negative stories start coming out. You see Soto tapping John Heyman on his way into his press conference, and you're like, Scott Boras, congrats. The leak that the Yankees wouldn't give him a suite, and they leak that the Yankees disrespected his chef and made his private chef wait out in the rain, wouldn't let his dad deliver food, and all this abject bullshit starts coming out. They're getting fans angry at security guards with spin zone, and Soto said he hasn't talked to any of his Yankees teammates, not just Judge, but the Yankees hold a special place in my heart. And then I'm like, man, everything we saw was fake, I guess. Like, that's crazy. I've never been fooled to that extent before. He was having a shitty time, I guess, with a bunch of people he didn't like, and then he turned on the spin zone and the leak machine as soon as he left. Like, wow, okay, I buy into baseball magic, as an adult once, and I get burned. This guy was lying to me. He's dead to me. I don't want to think about him again. And then here he is in Luke Weaver's Instagram comments. He doesn't need to be there. If someone's running his account, if he's paying someone to run his account, there's no way that person is being instructed to end up in Luke Weaver's Instagram comments. Juan Soto's probably doing that of his own volition. That means he liked Luke Weaver. That means he liked his time with the Yankees. And that means that the phony shit that came out after he left comes off even phonier. So it doesn't seem like it was a lie. It does seem like he enjoyed his time here. And it also seems like it was all about money at the end of the day. And he had to poison his relationship with the Yankees on the way out to turn fans against the Yankees or whatever. I don't know what page in the playbook that was, but he revealed himself to be a tremendous con artist, in addition to someone who got what he wants. And congratulations. And the Mets are set up nicely and it's all well and good. But just the audacity to show up and comment unicorn on Luke Weaver's Instagram and act like you guys are still boys. And maybe you are, but I don't. Yeah, Aaron Judge left Juan Soto out of his year-end Instagram carousel for a reason. Is this all silly garbage? Yes, yeah. Of course. But if I see a bunch of Yankees shaking hands with Juan Soto at the Subway Series or at the All-Star game, it's just going to reveal as even more transparently phony than it already felt. It looks like the spin was maybe the fake part rather than all of the joy we saw last year. It's going to be really hard to reconcile that joy this year. Yeah. It's going to be hard to watch the Soto home run in the ALCS. It's going to be hard to think about how they made the World Series for the first time in 15 years. I get it. It's a business somewhere else now. They did a good job pivoting. They'll have a chance to develop and sign more stars in the future. Not going to get too hung up on it. But when he pops himself back in your life, it's just a reminder that you lost the most joyous year of recent Yankees baseball already. And the guy who was responsible for that weird feeling is trying to inch his way back into that world that he willingly left for a very slight monetary upgrade. So shouldn't have pissed me off. Did.
I didn't see it until it was on the podcast rundown today. So whatever, man. Just whatever. Yeah, I think that it eventually just came down, whenever a player gets involved with Scott Boras, there's sneaky shit behind the scenes. Comes down to the last dollar, the last penny, the last contract incentive. And that's what it was. And I'm sure that the friendships that he forged with the Yankees are not all dead, but maybe some of them are. I hope so. And look, that's what's fun about this. Like, it wasn't a big gap in the contract. Like, yeah, sure, $50 million in incentives is a big gap, but when you're talking about $5 million in guaranteed money, it's like, that's nothing, dude. And again, we played a year together. We got to the World Series. We had a great time. So come on. Like, if the Yankees had a chance to match, that would have been a different story, but they didn't. So Boras kept everybody in the dark. Juan Soto was apparently on board with that, or all these players, I guess, are on board with that. Like the Pete Alonso negotiations, Bob Nightingale tweeted out, oh, the deal came to fruition in the old-fashioned way. They all met together and they talked about it. It's like,
yeah,
what?
What were they doing before that?
Yeah, what? Yeah, what? Like, they're just playing chicken. They're having fun. Like, they're ignoring each other's texts. They're leaving each other on red. Like, what? Yeah. How is this old-fashioned? It should just be. That's what it should be. Agent player goes talk to owner and GM. Let's hammer this out. Let's get it
Innovative. Yeah. The Mets are disrupting the negotiation space by talking. What are you talking about?
It's just idiotic. So, I mean, it's unfortunate how it all went down. I don't care that Juan Soto's commenting on Instagrams because the Subway Series is now in our lives forever, and we're gonna have to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, hopefully you have more fun in Queens, or an equal amount of fun, I guess, because but if they lose their spark plug in Jose Iglesias, what are the Mets going to do? That's my question.
Can we sign him? There was a rumor today he's looking for a multi-year deal. That seems crazy to me. But how about one fun year? How about a fill-in infielder go gap to gap like Jose Iglesias? You can write a new song. Juan Soto got a Yankees song last year that he already has to bleep. So maybe Jose Iglesias can write a new song about the pinstripe spring training hat or whatever the fuck, and we could just move on. Might be nice. The Mets have stolen 7 Yankees, most of whom we don't want on the roster, but maybe we can take one, and then Jose Iglesias can walk off Clay Holmes next year, and it'll be a movie, like everybody says. Thank you for joining us. We will be here again on Monday afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern. What if there was news? It'd be great. We'll just be a couple days away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training at that point. Presumably the rest of the team will follow unless they boycott. Unless the owners instill a salary cap forcibly over the next couple of weeks and break the CBA. We're going to have baseball by the end of the month. We're going to have a lot of baseball in March. We're going to have a regular season beginning in March. No better time to join us here on the Yanks Go Yard podcast twice a week and twice a week on your podcast platforms as well. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
I am at Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd appreciate it greatly. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there. We're getting in the weeds with a lot of stuff. Again, spring training, players start reporting next week. It's all coming together, baby. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for reading. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Appreciate the support. Have yourselves a good weekend. Super Bowl, who you got? I'm going Chiefs. Cannot root for the Eagles. Can't bet against Mahomes anymore. I did it twice this year and it burned me. So that's where my money's at. That's what I'm going for. But enjoy your weekends and have yourselves a good Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I find it unlikely the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl ever. You can't let them get there. Last year was the year to not let them get there, but people did anyway on the road twice against better teams. So if they won that Super Bowl, I don't know which Super Bowls they won't win. They're also down 10-0 in last year's Super Bowl and won it in overtime, and some would call that a tight game, but it kind of felt like a ball rolling down the hill in the Devil Magic team's direction. So I think the Eagles are better in every area except for quarterback and head coach. So I guess they'll lose. But anyway, we'll see you on Monday afternoon when we'll know the result of the Super Bowl, pending something absolutely insane.